Hello teacher, my name is Büşra Yılmaz. Today I am going to explain homework 3 of SE 380 course project. Firstly, I want to display all tasks in order. Task 1. Now I want to display task 2 for the homework 3. Now I am going to explain the task 1. In the basic setup of the application, I first set the app bar background color to the blue color. Then I added a text form within the column widget to create an area where the user can enter a text. Then I set the label color of the field, color blue, and use the focused bar property to ensure that when the user focuses on the text field, a blue line appears at the bottom. The next step was to add a checkbox widget to allow the user to make a selection. The state of this checkbox is controlled via the isCheckedBoolean value, and it is initially set to false, meaning it's unchecked. When the user checks the checkbox, the setState function updates the state and the widget is re-rendered. It is important to note that if the value is null, it's automatically set to false to prevent any error situations. Next, I add a drop-down menu offering the user yes and no options. As you can see in here, yes and no. This menu is populated from drop-down values, list map value. This is a map list. It includes label and value properties. If the label is yes, then the value will be true, and otherwise, if the label is no, the value will be false because of the drop-down menu item returns a Boolean value. The value parameter determines the item's value true or false in the drop-down values, as you can see. And the label parameters display the corresponding label yes or no with this property. Finally, I added an elevated button widget to provide the user with a way to perform an action for the next text. I placed the text send on the button, making it ready for future tasks. Now it's time for the explanation of task 2. I want to start by explaining the asynchronous function, validate and update function, which is responsible for validating the input entered into the text form field and updating the interface accordingly. The purpose of this function, you can see here, is to check the values entered by the user in the text form field and update the UI based on the input. The validation is handled using this is correct entry Boolean value. I initialized it in this line. If this value is true, as you can see in here, the text entered by the user in the text form is correct. If it is incorrect, as you can see, the validation will fail. And when the send button is clicked, the required values will not be displayed in the subtext. If the text entered by the user is less than 3 and this text is not an empty value, the message enter at least 3 letters will display on the screen, as you can see. And also, if this text is an empty value, the message you cannot leave this blank will be displayed on the screen. I want to try it. As you can see, you cannot leave this blank message displayed on the screen. The message variable is defined globally, and it is initialized as empty at the beginning of the code. If there is no error message, the helper text field will appear empty by indicating no errors. I want to try it. As you can see, in here, there is not any error text, as I meant. When if and as if code blocks are entered, then its correct entry will be equal to false. And otherwise, when the as block is entered, it means there are no errors and the is correct entry Boolean value is set to true. After the validation, this method continuously updates the values of the checkbox, as you can see, and the drop-down menu. This variable controls the checkbox. Every time this method is called, the text form field is validated. From there, the choice box and drop-down button values are kept up to date. And when the button is clicked, the most recent states are displayed if validation is successful. As you can see, also validate and update method is called here. Additionally, each time the button is clicked, the method is invoked again, and the necessary assignments are performed. The content to be displayed on the screen is also assigned after clicking the button. As can be seen, the method is called for both widgets. Since the parameters of the validate and update method are nullable for both parameters, the relevant parameter is used for the respective widget. For example, in the checkbox value parameter is used. On the other side, for the drop-down button, drop-down value parameter is used. Therefore, this method must be called within the onChange method of the checkbox, as you can see, and the drop-down menu. Therefore, this method must be called within the onChange method of the checkbox and the drop-down widgets, as you can see. And also, selected value variable controls drop-down menu variable. This aims is to prevent the text field from being updated without pressing the button. For example, when I clicked before clicking this button, this text will not be changed. When I click this button, this place will be changed. As you can see, this change to the true value. In the text area at the bottom, the content will be displayed only if is correct entry is true. If validation fails, an empty content is returned. I want to try it again. As you can see, the bottom text widget is equal to empty text widget. Finally, I want to mention the text colors. The label text, helper text, and the color of the bottom border vary based on the validation state. If the input is valid, the color is blue. Otherwise, it will be red. It depends on the is correct entry value. When I enter a correct value to the text form field, then the blue color will be displayed. When I enter a wrong value, the red color will become. Now it's time for the local history of homework 3 task 1. I removed all comments from the code. And also I removed default values. I added text form field. I filled the text form field widget. I removed text counter from the code. I continued text form field. I changed the color theme data. I changed the title of my homepage. I changed the title color. I tried to set background color of the app bar to the blue here. I performed checkbox values to perform successfully. With the print function, I checked if check value was true or false value when I clicked checkbox. I removed print. I added drop-down button. I tried to complete drop-down. I converted the list to the map list. I filled drop-down. In here, I tried to complete drop-down button successfully. Same error. I converted the true string value to the Boolean value to perform the returning Boolean value. I set the value of the drop-down button to the selected value. In each step, I made a hot readout, as you can see. I added an elevated button. I continued with the elevated button, as you can see. I changed the background color of the elevated button to the blue. Also, text color to white. I updated the text form field still values. I want to set label still to the color of blue. I want to change the border of the text form field. In here, I tried it. This is the final state of the homework 3 task 1. Now, I want to show the local history of task 2. In here, I tried to change background color of the drop-down menu. I found the correct way, but I tried another ways. I finally found the correct way. I added the text form controller to receive the text form fields. Text, write text. I started to the message implementation. I added the conditions. I changed the condition status. I tried the colored label still according to the is correct entry condition. No changes. Also, again, I removed message empty or from there. I added the text widget without the elevate button. I added /n property. Also, I set the is correct entry to the true. I removed it because it is not necessary. I added it at the bottom, therefore it is not necessary. I noticed some shortcomings in the code I shared earlier, such as the need to update checkbox and drop-down menus without requiring a button click. Also, additional asynchronous functions can result in more efficient code. I made new attempts to address these issues, and the code explained and displayed in the explanation and displaying sections represents the most updated and accurate version. Now, I want to display the latest version of the local history for the task 2. It starts from here. There, I tried to fix the error by changing the boolean values. I tried too many ways to fix this. I tried init state functions, also did update widget functions, but they didn't fix this shortcomings. I removed them. I add again. I changed boolean value. Too many ways. In there, I tried to create a new function to handle this shortcoming. I called this function in the elevate button because the shortcomings is about the update checkbox and drop-down values without requiring a button click. However, this method couldn't be solved for this shortcoming. Finally, when I change this method to this method, I can fix this shortcoming, and also when I create a content string value, and then when I edit it in the elevated button after the validate and update method call, then this shortcoming was solved. The final version of my code, you can see